AA. For great value home insurance, go online to the aa.ie.
Showers continuing tonight and getting heavier, becoming persistent at times. Lowest temperatures of 2 to 5 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters.
This is News Talk.
All right, it's Thursday night. You're welcome along to Off the Ball. Nathan with you until 10 o'clock this evening. Busy show ahead. Brian O'Driscoll with us live just after 8 o'clock. Rob Kearney today confirming that he has played his last game for Leinster and for Ireland, but he ain't done with rugby just yet. We'll talk to Brian about that, and of course where it all went wrong for Leinster last weekend in the Champions Cup. Lots of football on this evening, lots of live football in the Europa League. Dundalk just getting underway. Liverpool among the teams in action in the Carabao Cup. We'll talk to John Giles around that, and Kenny Cunningham will join us for the football show as well. 53106 is the text number if you want to get in touch on Twitter. @OffTheBall is the easiest way to do just that. Richie McCormack is with us as always. Evening, Richie.
Nathan, how are you?
I'm very well. Joe Molloy, good evening to you.
Gents, how you doing?
I tell you, winter has set in. Last week, I think it was, Joe, there was glorious sunshine shining upon your beautiful face, and tonight we can barely see it, it's so dark.
Yeah, it has turned. Winter is here. Miserable weather all afternoon in Dublin, that's for sure. I think tomorrow's meant to be nice, Nathan.
Oh, great. Well, listen, stay indoors anyways, I think is the general advice these days. Don't go too far. Don't do anything. Golf is going to be the last thing to go, Joe, isn't it? No matter what happens. There's no level we can get to that you can't play golf at.
I think level 9 it starts to go, but until then we're good.
Well, that is positive news. I don't know if tonight's news round can match last night's news round, where you uncovered a doping scandal. Has there been any update on this? Remind me of what happened again?
Well, yeah, I mean, he remained anonymous, but he was from the Galway area. Oof. And it turned out that the mother of one of his teammates in Fela Pell had given his team ketones at halftime. We suspect, we have not had confirmation, but ketones is the likely offender, and they blitzed all teams in the second half of all matches, and he felt compelled to come forward all these years later. We're following it up. We have some ideas. That's all I can say for now, but it's not good. This
is your David Walsh, Lance Armstrong moment, is it? Nothing will stop you.
Yeah. Oprah will be doing the ultimate interview when this thing comes clean, but I will be writing the book.
The whole house of cards starts here with a fail at competition. This mother, God knows where she has been. The big news today then, Rob Kearney has, I guess, confirmed what we all knew was coming. There's going to be no more Rob Kearney good-lookingness at Leinster anymore. He's going, it seems, to Perth, Western Australia, where, well, he'll fit right in, I suspect, amongst the locals. Not a bad career. Not a bad career for Rob Kearney. I'll just run through it. 4 Six Nations titles, 2 Grand Slams, 4 European Cups, 6 Pro 14s, 2 Lions Tours, and European Player of the Year in 2012. He is officially Ireland's most decorated player ever.
Yeah, extraordinary. Irish rugby just became 20% less good-looking this afternoon.
At least.
At least.
Pretty harsh on Dave.
At least.
Harsh on Dave.
At least. Phenomenal. I mean, is it possible he's even underappreciated? Like, so much of his work was shown when somebody else tried to fill his jersey, and we saw just how difficult a position it can be. I mean, you think of Robbie Headshaw against England in particular back in 2019. Suddenly, Rob Kearney, after being written off, not probably for the first time in his career, was suddenly very, very important again. And maybe we focused a bit too much at times on what he couldn't do and not what he was absolutely exceptional at week in, week out over however many years. And, you know, it's just a Rolls-Royce career from when he burst on the scene, like with perfect timing in 2009, when he rescued Irish rugby, the Munster-Leinster divide in Edenderry in that hotel room. And then, you know, the Lions tour of 2009 sticks in the memory, where he kind of burst on the scene there to a wider audience, where, you know, his proficiency in the air was just ridiculous, and his boot, phenomenal. And what a player. Went about his business very, very quietly for a really high profile player. And he'll be missed. You know, he can bow out very, very content, I think.
He has gone through the full circle already, I think, that any long-serving player does, of the appreciation and the brilliance of the early days and the excitement to the, we're sort of used to him by now. Could something else new and exciting come along? and taking him for granted, to the last sort of 18 months of us judging every other player who wears that 15 jersey for Ireland going, yeah, they do all that stuff, but I just wish they'd do what Rob Kearney did. Just wish they'd catch the ball up high. That's what I want from him. So I think he's actually retiring at a moment where people fully appreciate everything he did.
Very much so. Yeah, I think the last couple of years have been really nice swan song time for him, where he's been appreciated and lauded, because there definitely was a period where it's, well, you know, he never beats a man, you know, and he needs to pick a pass more, and the deficiencies were kind of talked about. But as you said, I think the last couple of years, it's almost come full circle. So, yeah, phenomenal career. Where did you say he's off to?
The
Western Force.
Rumour is Western Force.
Okay, very nice.
So he may winter in Western Australia, which, of any winter to get the hell out of here, I think he's picking the right one. So hopefully that goes ahead. Declan is texted in to say, Rob Kearney, very good looking, yes, but very hairy also. Depends what you're into, I suppose.
Does. That's an excellent point. Yeah.
It does depend.
Where are you in terms of hair, Nathan? What do you prefer in a man?
Well, when I look in the mirror, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, Joe. That's where the similarities end, unfortunately, between myself and Rob Kearney. Are we allowed to do a ranking of top 5 best-looking Irish male sports people?
Oof, yeah, go on. I'd like to.
I don't know. I'm thinking on the spot, which I'm massively regretting doing right now. But I'm throwing it out there to the listeners.
Well, I think Tony Ward remains the man to be beaten. That's the initial thought.
Are we going all time?
Jeez, if we're going all time.
I think we're going all time. Sorry, what do you want to do? Just this century?
Current. You got to maintain the looks. Current.
Okay, sorry, current. Well, who's current then?
I'm struggling.
That's the question, Joseph.
Is this a poor time for the Irish male sports person? I'm not quite sure.
Zebo's a handsome man, isn't he? Conor Murray.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Conor Murray. Yeah.
And taller than you think as well. Passed him by in Grafton Street there recently, and he was nearly my height.
Right.
You kind of figure scrum half, little lad, base of scrum kind of stuff, but no, he was, just about my height.
I did. I interviewed Conor Murray about a year ago, and it was a gig down in one of the PR companies, and I think it must have been the last interview he had to do, so he'd put on his normal gear again. And it was to be recorded on video, so obviously the PR people were like, look, I think it was for Pinergy. They're like, you need to put the Pinergy top back on. He's like, So I'm already recording as he's getting changed. So I make the joke of, I'll tell you, we don't even need to do the interview. If I can just put this footage up online, this will do the business for us, no problem. He didn't find it as funny as I did.
Oh.
And I haven't seen Conor since.
Okay.
It was unfortunate. And I don't have the footage, so don't ask. Don't ask. I deleted it straight away. As we wait for those texts, I'm sure to flood in, Richie, we're going to start with the Irish Open, a bittersweet evening for myself and Joe, because we shouldn't be here in the darkness. We should be somewhere relaxing in a restaurant, enjoying our life away from it all. But alas, it's not to be.
Good enough for you. James Sugrue, 2 off the lead and best of the Irish, is day 1 of the Dubai Duty Free Irish Open draws to a close. The 2019 amateur champion shot a 3 under par round of 67 at Galgorm Castle today. South Africa's Dean Burmester and England's Jordan Smith are the joint clubhouse leaders. They finished up on 5 under par today. They've been joined out on course by Aaron Ray, who's playing the last. Next best of the Irish, Damien McGrain on level par. Padraig Harrington and Jonathan Caldwell are 1 over, while Shane Lowry opened with a 5 over par round of 75. Sugrue was asked after his round today if he can see himself emulating the feat of Lowry at Baltray in 2009 and winning his home Open as an amateur.
There's a lot of golf to be played yet, but yeah, it was obviously I'm happy with how I played today, very happy with how I played today. I think, it's conditions were tricky. Although we didn't get wet, it was definitely blowing, like it was gusty, and when you're caught in those holes where there's trees all around you, you just don't know what way the wind is blowing, so you just kind of have to trust it. But no, I was happy with my round today.
It's an Irish Open shorn of the usual big names that we've seen over the last few years, Joe. No John Rahm, no Rory McIlroy, much smaller prize fund. It's great that it's going ahead at all, but there actually is a good chance here for James Sugrue.
Yeah, and I hadn't realised you mentioned it on Golf Weekly this afternoon, which is up and podcasted and in all the usual places. He hadn't been invited to play in this until Lee Westwood highlighted it just last week, was it?
Lee Westwood played with him at the US Open, and after the first round was obviously asked, well, what did you make of playing with the amateur champion? He said, yeah, great. Very surprised to hear he's not in the Irish Open though next week. Someone should really sort him out with an invite. And lo and behold, and rightly, He can play in the US Open, he can play in the Masters. I think he should be able to play in the Irish Open.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, people very fondly still remember his amateur Open win at Portmarnock in the sunshine last year. It's hard to keep track of what decade we're in at this stage, but it was kind of this amazing thing where people kept showing up across the afternoon and followed the pair of them around. He was playing some Scottish player, and Sugrue won out, and good on him, because I'd heard people say he mightn't be quite long enough off the tee to compete in the upper echelons. I don't know to what extent that's true or not, but clearly he likes a bit of pressure, and he won that Open Championship, that Amateur Open, and this is a big week for him, and he's performed well today, so that's really good. I also saw Padraig Harrington and Ronan Flood, who was on the podcast last week, his caddy, lifting kind of half a tree out of the way.
I saw that. Is that legal? What was going on?
Well, there's obviously, there's a giant kind of tree, half a branch thing had fallen, and I don't know, Harrington finds himself sometimes in these situations. So his playing partner was looking on. It was obviously in the way, and the two of them lifted it up onto their shoulders and carried it away. I can't tell you much beyond that. Just Harrington doing his thing.
The text machine is creaking with good-looking Irish men.
Go.
But Richie, there's a lot of football happening, and I know Dundalk are playing at the moment. So run us down to that first, and I'll try and collate these.
Yeah, Dundalk are 180 minutes potentially away from a place in the Europa League group phase. Hasn't started well for them, though, in Moldova, away to the Moldovan champions. Sheriff Vyacheslav Pozmac has given the hosts an early lead there, so it's Sheriff 1, Dundalk 0 at the moment. There was a 6 p.m. start in Latvia, where it remains Riga 0, Celtic 0, just approaching the hour mark in that one. Elsewhere, Tottenham are 1-0 up away to Skendia. They kicked off at 7 o'clock in North Macedonia, and it's Eric Lamela who's gotten that goal through an assist from Heung-min Son. He's turned from goal scorer to provider. Elsewhere, Hapoel Beersheva are 1-0 up at home to Motherwell. At 8 o'clock, Aberdeen kick off away to Sporting, and Rangers are also on the road tonight. They're in the Netherlands to face Willem II. As I say, an 8 o'clock starts to that one. Liverpool have named 4 teenagers in their starting 11 for tonight's Carabao Cup third round tie away to Lincoln City of League One. Reece Williams, Nico Williams, Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones all starting. There's also a start for Kostas Tsimikas, while Diogo Jota, their recent signing, is on the bench. That kicks off at 7:45, as does the meeting of Manchester City and Bournemouth. Pardon me. The 17-year-old son of Rory Delap, Liam Delap, makes his Manchester City debut tonight at home to Bournemouth. And there was a 7 o'clock start at Ashton Gate, where Aston Villa are already 2-0 up away to Bristol City. Ahmed El Ghazi got the first of those goals. They have just doubled their advantage in the past few moments as well through Bertrand Traore. So 2-0 to Villa away to Bristol City. And one other football line as well, related, I guess, to the Europa League. Zlatan Ibrahimovic today testing positive for coronavirus and is in self-isolation. He was due to play for Milan tonight against Bodo Glimt in the third qualifying round of the Europa League.
And of course, he was in Dublin this night last week.
Did you see Zlatan's tweet on this? It was good. He said, "I tested negative yesterday and positive today. No symptoms whatsoever. COVID has had the courage to challenge me. Bad idea."
It's tired now, isn't it? The whole Zlatan thing.
No, I
The whole
can't get
COVID
enough.
thing or the whole
Can't get
Zlatan
enough.
thing?
I can't get enough.
So the
both.
COVID thing's still fresh.
Richie, you go get yourself a drink of water there. Sit back, relax. It is the news round with thanks to Gillette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters. And ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at the best looking men in Irish sport. Your favourite off the ball presenters not eligible for this. And either, of course, is Kevin Kilbane, because you may remember this isn't the first time this topic came up. We were talking about good looking Premier League players once upon a time with one Kevin Kilbane. And as John in Cork points out, never forget the night you had a discussion like this on the show before. And the only man in the history of mankind that Kevin Kilbane could bring himself to say was good looking was Elvis. We're not lying. No matter how hard he was pushed, surely at some stage during your long and illustrious career and all the clubs you played at, there was one person in the dressing room you thought, he's a good looking chap. No. Elvis. And he only said that because he was the only man he could think of. But our listeners are not like that. They can think of plenty. Delicious Irish top 5 from Desi. It is all men responding to this, I should point out. Conor Murray, Thomas Barr.
Yeah.
Straight in there.
That's a handsome man, yeah.
One of the O'Donovan brothers, can never remember which. Let's just, out of fairness, not name which one it is. Keano, for a bit of rough.
Yeah, Roy Keane, yeah.
Stephen Roach had a boyish charm. And then Gary from Summerhill says, Nico Roach is a good-looking chap, if you're accepting non-rugby sports people, which we are. Lads, Jeff Hendrick all day. Beautiful man. Rugged. Yeah. The hair, the flowing locks.
Do you know who has an understated handsomeness about him? I've always said it. If his voice was different, he would be considered differently in the realm of handsomeness. Padraig Harrington. If Padraig Harrington had a radio voice, like, I don't know,
I think Padraig Harrington has aged well, because he's a man now who's on the verge of turning 50 and he's in such good shape.
There you go.
You know, he's remained for a soon-to-be 50-year-old man.
He's got experience behind him as well.
Incredibly well. Hey, I thought we were sticking to current.
That's true. That is true. We are sticking to current. Aidan O'Shea. Aidan O'Shea, no slouch in the looks department.
Oh yeah, Aidan O'Shea. I'd accept that absolutely. Did anyone text in Gary Ringrose? Quite a handsome, boyish type.
No, they did not. No, Gary Ringrose. Stephen Roach is coming up a lot, even though we did say current. But then if you like Stephen Roach, you probably like Nico Roach, because there's a lot of similarities right there.
They speak very alike as well. They've got that whole father passing down to son, the same cadence and the same rhythm of speech and all that. They sound very alike.
You're getting your Midlands towns wrong, it seems. You said Edenderry. Is Edenderry in the Midlands? Where is Edenderry?
Yeah, it's in Offaly.
Offaly, right. It was Enfield. Johnson
it was Enfield. It was Enfield when he saved Irish rugby, the course. Yes.
Or did Rob just give his Irish teammates a hard time every time they were in a Midlands town? I don't think so, Harry. But keep the text coming. We'll try and get to as many of them as possible in the next 5 or 6 minutes. What else you got for us, Richie?
Yeah, Rob Kearney says he lived the dream, not only being handsome, but by also playing for Leinster and Ireland. The curtain came down on the fullback's 15-year career with the province today, and their loss to Saracens last weekend. Kearney won 95 caps for Ireland. He won 2 Grand Slams, as you mentioned, and also thanked Leinster for the unbelievable honour of lifting the Pro 14 trophy along with Fergus McFadden earlier this month. He has been linked, as we mentioned, to the Perth-based Super Rugby side Western Force. On the transfer front, Chelsea have completed the €25 million capture of goalkeeper Edouard Mendy from the French side of Rennes. The Senegal international has signed a 5-year contract and becomes Chelsea's 7th signing of this window alone, and he'll now compete with Kepa Arrizabalaga for the number 1 spot at Stamford Bridge. Promoter Eddie Hearn has revealed that Katie Taylor's next world title defence will be in November. Pardon me. She will go up against the WBO mandatory contender of Miriam Gutierrez. The Spaniard has won all 13 of her fights as a professional to date. Meanwhile, it took a bit of getting believing this one last night.
I'm just going to let you go now to see how high your voice is going to go while you're trying not to cough. There's nothing worse. Rob Kearney, Mark says, has done a great service for grey-haired men everywhere. He proved that the grey-haired brigade can still be useful after the salt and pepper kicks in. Is he greying naturally? Is he letting that happen? Haven't seen him recently. Okay.
Yeah, when the trophy presentation came around, it was very noticeable that there's some grey temples going on there.
Okay. Well, that'll soon be gone once he gets to Australia. It'll be fine. Where were you going with that, Richie?
He's just going to settle in and become one of the rabble when he goes to Australia, though, because it's kind of a handsome country. Wrexham fans will vote on an investment proposal from Hollywood stars Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fame after they declared their interest in the Welsh club. The National League side has been in fan ownership since 2011, and the vision of the new bidders will be shared at a meeting with the Supporters Trust. Wrexham director Spencer Harris says the pair have good intentions.
They've got a big emotional connection from what I've seen thus far. They've done a lot of detailed research into the club and are very excited and very, I'm very passionate and certainly I've been passionate and we've been passionate about this club for a very long time, and they're getting more passionate by the day. They're very serious, very committed, very professional and very successful people in their line of work. Both in acting and outside of acting as well in the business world.
What is the emotional connection they somehow have to Wrexham?
I don't know. This still feels like Wrexham are the victims of a prank.
Yeah. Apparently, there was talk before the names were revealed that whomever was looking to invest had $2 million ready to go pretty much from the off to invest in the side, and that they do have the best of intentions here. But when this popped up last night, it just seemed like the most bizarre. Like even you wouldn't place Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney together for whatever reason, but they're successful producers. They've done well for themselves in Hollywood, and they seem to want to get involved in a National League side in the English League who are based in South Wales. It's all really random.
Yeah, you would worry that there's some reality TV show coming out of this. Though Ryan Reynolds always comes across as a pretty good guy. Like he wouldn't do this, would he? Surely not.
I don't think so. But the worry is, like, Wrexham had been in financial trouble and they found their feet under fan ownership, as a lot of clubs have done. They kind of close as well. You know, going the fan-owned route, if you're a certain size of a club, is probably the best way to go. And to come away from that for literally Hollywood glitz and glamour seems a bit of a stretch.
Just to let you know that the big names keep coming in a Cadbury FC series of shows that we're currently running. You can watch our conversations with Ian Wright, Sol Campbell, Packy Bonner and Shay Given on the OTB Sports app right now. And up next, it is a big one. Coming your way on Monday, October the 4th, Joe's going to be sitting down with Gary Neville and Teddy Sheringham. So that is the 5th of October. Definitely one for all Manchester United supporters and everybody else, because they're both going to be brilliant. You'll be able to watch that on OTB social channels and on OTB Sports Radio. Check out cadburyfc.com for updates on promotions and giveaways. Teddy Sheringham was a looker back in the day.
Yeah, he was. And I spent the last while reacquainting myself this afternoon with some parts of his career. You forget aspects of Sheringham. Won the Golden Boot when he in '93. I never realised he actually won the Golden Boot. Yeah. And when he joined United to replace Cantona, you know, this is kind of the thing you forget. His first season there, they didn't win the league. He was not going well, not beloved by the fans. He got off to a really rocky start in his first season, which I hadn't remembered as vividly. And even in the treble year, he only started 11 games. I mean, I know he's the super sub, but like he played very few games. He only scored 5 goals that season. It's just like he had the week of his life, particularly treble week with the FA Cup final. Roy Keane got injured. He came on for Keane and scored with pretty much his first touch. And obviously everyone remembers the Nou Camp. So, and then I guess the other thing is you forget as well, at 33, winning Players Player of the Year, Football Writers Player of the Year as well. So, you know, the 31-year-old who walked out at Euro 96 and, you know, Shearer and Sheringham, and you kind of thought, well, that's the peak of his career. If you'd said to him then, you're going to win the treble, you're going to win 3 league titles, you're going to be Players Player of the Year, you're going to be in the 2002 World Cup squad, it was a bit of a long shot, kind of an extraordinary autumn to his career. And he is the Premier League's oldest outfield player, older than Giggs. He was 40 and oldest goal scorer. So kind of remarkable decade from 30 to 40.
All right, so lots to talk about. Teddy Sheringham, Gary Neville, that coming up over the next couple of weeks. We're pretty much done for time. Richie, just before we finish up, you might run through the latest scores.
Yeah, we'll do,
of course.
As we mentioned, Dundalk went behind pretty early on, away to Sheriff, and they remain 1-0 down. Meanwhile, Spurs 1-0 up through Eric Lamela, away to Skendia. Celtic still scoreless as they enter the final 22 minutes, away to Riga. And Aston Villa, they're 2-0 up away to Bristol City in the Carabao Cup third round. All
right, thanks a lot for that, Richie. Joe, thank you. The texts have stopped being sent in to us by JP about the most best-looking Irish sports people. Obviously, not happy that he wasn't getting any messages in, even though, you know, his lack of sporting ability should come into it. We shouldn't forget, though, that, of course, JP was the Bachelor of the Year back in 2013, the stellar Bachelor of the Year. Our producer, JP, it's true. It's true. We have the photographs. Everybody around the office is going, no way, no way. It is 100% true. 2013, that's what? 7 years ago now, and still eligible. A remarkable thing. John Johnson.
Former Q, ladies.
The News Round on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters.
Sustainable living? Own it at experts electrical stores nationwide with Bosch. Save water with Bosch IDOS washing machine smart automatic detergent dosing. Save energy with their perfect dry